Today we're going to do another breakdown of a song by Boris Brejcha. Today we're going to do Thunderstorm, his track Thunderstorm. It's a fantastic song. When I heard it the first time, I was blown away because it sounded like the bass, or at least, some of those lower mid frequencies were being weirdly panned and laid around your head as you listen to the song. So I took the time to try recreate it the best as I could. We just listened to the first part of the song, so you can see that his track is 7.5 minutes. I haven't arranged it to that length. I've just taken the first 4 bars and I've looped it, and I've tried to build it from scratch. So if you haven't heard the song Thunderstorm, or if you're not familiar with it, I'd highly recommend listening to it. I can't play it for you in the video for copyright reasons, but yes, let's go. This is what I have. Cool, so again, not 100% the exact verbatim, recreation, but we're certainly in and around the target. So starting off with a kick, again, we're at 125 beats per minute, and we're in the key of D minor for this song. So on my kick, I've just got a bit of, here we are. Starting off with the utility, just making the kick mono. And then I'm using this gate trick to take a bit of the click out of the kick. That's off. That's on. And then some EQ to tame the high end. And then a bit of the mids. And same thinking here with this multi-band compressor. Really actually trying to hone in on these low frequencies here of the sub. I find that in samples they tend to really exaggerate the low end, and then when you listen to the kick in context, yes, there's still low end, but it's not as exaggerated to make room for the bass and other elements. Then running into the Saturn preset, I've really been enjoying the Saturn preset called Das Scoop. That's off, and that's on. I just like what it does, especially to the high end. And then lastly, a compressor here. Just to compress the kick as a whole. Yes, we are doing multiband compression too. But I find that doing little amounts at each step of your signal flow, your signal chain, helps to, get the desired sound, rather than one compressor cramming it all, in one go. Just spread out the processing a bit. Cool? And then here we have the bass. This was really fun to create from scratch, just listening to the song, trying to hone in on the exact sound that he had. Breaking it down, we're using 3 oscillators. We're using the sub-oscillator, sine, direct out, then just the 2 basic saw waves. This one is an octave higher with 2 voices of unison into a filter. And then I have some distortion, multiband compression, another filter, EQ. We'll get to that in a second. So this filter, this envelope, the combination of these two really shapes the sound. So there's a nice attack time, around 200, 250 milliseconds, and that opens up the filter. A lot of the times we're making pluck sounds that immediately closes the filter, but here we're actually lifting the filter up over time. And I was using this envelope. This one here is quite similar to our main envelope, but I'm using a bit of the hold time here. Just to get a little bit more of that brightness from the top end coming through. So, so this envelope is also mapped to the distortion mix amount and the filter cutoff here, because after we run it through this OTT, it's a bit too bright. So again, another filter, just to calm it down a bit. And then we're just taming a bit of the highs here with this EQ. And then in order to really match the sound he had, I mapped macro 1 to the attack time. To anything else? No, just to the attack time here of envelope 2. So you can see over time I am closing it, right? Yeah. So I'm slightly closing it on individual notes here. So here's the MIDI. If you want to see the MIDI, we're just sitting on the note D. Especially on notes like this, where it's short in between two other notes, you want to close it so that it doesn't bleed. The sound doesn't bleed into the other notes. And then, so on the actual channel, I'm taming a bit of the low ends, low frequencies, and the mids, running it into Saturn. Yeah, so this is quite similar to the default Saturn, you know, the Annette preset. I've just made 2 bands, and I've driven the second band here, the higher frequencies, with the warm tape style. Yeah, just to get a bit crispy, get more of the crispiness. And then here I'm using another preset, 456 demo. Again, just trying to create a richer mid-range and high frequency range. Into a bit of OTT. You can hear what the full 100% mix amount does. Just adding a little bit of that. Into a compressor, that's not really doing much. And then LFO tool. And then I've just made another track here for the sub oscillator, for the sub frequencies. Literally copy paste, not using these 2 oscillators, just the sub oscillator. Cool. Moving on to the drums. This is what we have. So I noticed with his snare, he has the initial hit, and then it almost sounds like there's this like noise crackle that follows the snare, which is this sound. You can hear it's going. Yeah, because I try to shape the snare sound to obviously the sound of his snare. It's not 100% accurate, but it's you know, serving the purpose. And this, I just took one of these samples here, one of these snare samples, and I used Ableton's grain delay. Yeah. So, yeah, like that. Yeah, I basically did something like that, and I froze the track, printed it out, and then I just shifted it over to the start. And that gave me the sound I was looking for. But I'm not using all these snare samples. I'm not using this one. Yeah. But yeah, there's nothing really to it with these, you know, trying to copy the snare sound. You just basically got to layer different samples until you get the right mix of crunch, snap, you know, all those buzzwords. Yeah, it's just a matter of trial and error until you find what you're looking for. But on the group, I've got a little bit of reverb on, literally sitting at 5%. Yeah, just a bit of space. A little bit of compression. Again, this 456 demo presets. And then a bit of EQ. Cool, yeah. So that's the snare sound. Here we have the hi-hats and shakers. Simple shaker, no reverb, bit of EQ, no compression. Then here underneath I have my Serum hi-hat preset using the noise oscillator, just to thicken up that shaker sound. And then this is a sample or a loop from somewhere, 07 hat loop. You can barely hear it. Then we have a tambourine. I am sidechaining the tambourine because I think it's too present otherwise. Yeah, that's not necessary, but yeah, it can be done to taste. Then an open hat here at the bottom. Yeah, nothing special, just some hi-hats to serve the purpose. And then here at the bottom we have the main lead. I did spend quite a lot of time on this. This is what I had originally. In the song, it's a very fine balance between like muddiness, darkness, and high end. Because in the actual song, he's got the sound, but it's not really cutting through the same way a lead normally does. It's very filtered. It's very dark. And yeah, I found it quite tricky to try and recreate. So on this layer here, I'm using all three oscillators again. I'm using a little bit of this one. The level is on 7%, but we have a saw wave, sine wave, and the main sound is coming from FMing the sine wave into the saw wave. The sine wave is an octave down, random set to 0, and the level set to 0, so we don't actually hear it, but it still affects the oscillator AFM. Yeah, so this is what I was talking about. So we're using envelope 1 here to essentially make this a pluck, but a very, very small pluck. Like nothing's really happening here. Yeah, we're just moving this cutoff frequency a tiny, tiny bit. And then I think I added in this oscillator here for a bit more high end. Otherwise it's a bit too dark. And then a bit of compression. A simple EQ to cut out the lows, no compression, and then typical sidechain. But then I found that was a bit too dark, so I added in this second channel, basically duplicated what I had and then moved it an octave higher. Also added in some voices of unison, some distortion, and this macro setting here I've mapped to the drive and the mix amount, and nothing else. Yeah, nothing else. So I can do this. Yeah, so out of that darkness comes the distorted sound. So that happens later in the song as the arrangement unfolds. But yeah, I just set it up here. Yeah, go back and listen to the song if you haven't heard it in a while, and really listen to this lead sound, because it's baffling to me. It blows my mind that it's so dark, yet it really does like fit well in the track. It's not too dark, it's not too bright. It's like it really fits well, like a glove. And then on this bass group, I'm just saturating the mids a bit. I'm not doing anything here on the lows really, or the high end. Yeah, just mainly the lows here. Just a little bit. Yeah, just some fine tuning to try and get into, get the sound he had. Here, this is where it goes downhill. I try to remake this sound. I'll just play it quick. That sort of lead. Didn't get anywhere near it. Yeah, it didn't get anywhere near that sound. And that's what makes his songs really interesting to me, because you'll have moments like this where he brings in, a unique, one of a kind synth, bass, lead, whatever, and it really just catches your ear. And then you may hear it again, you may not. Yeah, it's really what makes his music really interesting to me. Over here, there's a part in this song that goes like this. That. it builds up from around here until, you know, it's really loud and in your face. I tried to remake this sound. That's the first attempt. Absolutely nowhere near. And this was my second attempt. Right off the bat, I knew before I was making it that it's going to have to be really distorted. So that's what I did. I used the sine wave, simple pluck, running into downsampling. I'll just take these off. Bit of hyperdimension. This downsampling gives you that that buzzing in the high frequencies. There. So maybe that mix should be higher. And then I was just experimenting here. I was experimenting using this envelope on the gain frequency of this EQ. Just to try and get more character out of the sound. Then typical OTT. I think it sounds better around there. Into another filter. Yeah, again, just to try and calm the whole sound. And yeah, here's where we do some more saturation. Again, splitting Saturn into multiple bands. It's really nice in that way that you can distort different frequency spectrums as you wish to really try and clamp down on these mids. I'm driving band 2 warm tape 100%. Then running into Decapitator by Sound Toys. That's off. That's on. Yeah, trying to get that really, really distorted, but not over the top sound. And then following that, I've got an EQ. Yeah, I've got an EQ trying to, well, not trying to, I'm cutting out all the lows. Almost like you're strangling the sound. Yeah, because the sound he had is basically entirely mid-range. And a bit of highs. Then, yeah, I had another Saturn here. I think it sounds better with it on. And then a bit of reverb. And over time, just over the short section, I'm automating, what am I automating? The decay amount and the cutoff slightly. So it goes from this to this. Automating it over time. Yeah, and that's basically as far as I got. Those are the main sections I wanted to break down. If I had the time and the capacity, I would arrange it and, you know, really try hone in on those details. But I think I would go absolutely crazy trying to get it 100% accurate like his song. But cool, that is Thunderstorm. If you haven't heard the track, definitely go listen to it. It's a great, great song. And yeah, hope you learned something.